Diddy's release date somehow moved up. Seemingly overnight, he got another month added on to his jail time.
Just days ago, Sean Combs was in a program that could have gotten him home by summer. Tonight, he's on a 23-hour lockdown, and the calendar that once favored him has stopped moving in his direction. This is the story of how one fight behind the walls of a federal prison in New Jersey may have cost a man everything he'd quietly clawed back, and why the timing of it should make you ask some hard questions about who Sean Combs really is when nobody's filming. For months, the headlines about Diddy at FCI Fort Dix had a strange, almost gentle rhythm.
Investigator, commentator, host of Tisa Tales on YouTube. Tisa, what is the hole at Fort Dix?
The hole in Fort Dix is solitary confinement, but unfortunately, it's not like we see in the movies. He does have access to his lawyers, and he is allowed for people to come and visit him. I think it's restricted to an hour. The story behind the solitary confinement is sources are saying Diddy is wearing this as a badge of honor. He started that fight for his ego to kind of show who was top dog. And now that he is solitary confinement, they are saying he is bragging about it and he is proud of it, which is so odd considering it literally lost him 27 days of precious time.
His release date kept dropped 8, then April 2028, then April 15, 2028. His projected release date kept moving earlier, thanks in part to credits from a prison rehabilitation program. From the outside, it almost looked like the system was giving him every opportunity to get home early. But here's what nobody was saying out loud. Those credits depended on his continued participation in the programs that were shaving days off his sentence. And reportedly, Sean Combs' time at Fort Dix was anything but clean. Let's go back 3 infractions.
Interesting enough, there are 3 times. The first time, something was illegal, I'll just say it, with toilet wine in the Fort Dix.
That just kind of rolled off your tongue. You said toilet wine. It's pruno. So Diddy's making booze and getting a snoot full behind bars. I think is what you're trying to say. Go ahead.
Yeah. So somebody was making booze and Diddy got a few cups of that and he was caught. Okay, that was the first infraction.
The first, he was allegedly caught with homemade prison alcohol, what inmates call pruno, fermented in secret and passed around like currency. The violation itself may have seemed small, but it became part of a pattern of disciplinary problems. But minor violations have a way of adding up. The second, 3-way phone calls. Federal inmates are only permitted to speak with one person per call, no exceptions, no workarounds. Sean Combs allegedly broke that rule too, and according to reports, one of those calls involved a woman he asked to bring 200 unmarked bills, in a paper bag, into the facility. If that detail is accurate, it raises a question worth sitting with. What does a man serving time need with 200 unmarked bills brought to him in secret?
While that happened, there was another scandal going on where Diddy was making 3-way calls, which are illegal. You're only allowed to call one person. He was making 3-way calls while he was in Fort Dix. And in the 3-way calls, he was asking someone who he first claimed was his legal team. And then they said, no, they keep us out of it. But he was talking to a woman who he told to bring unmarked bills, I think 200 unmarked bills in a paper bag to Fort Dix. Again, sounds shady and illegal to me. Now, he got slaps on the hand for that, but now we literally escalate to the prison fight.
I'm not accusing him of anything beyond what's been reported. I'm simply asking you to notice the pattern, because patterns are what got us here in the first place. The third infraction is the one that actually put him in the hole. Reportedly, Combs was smoking in an enclosed area, itself against the rules, and that violation triggered a contraband sweep by guards. During that sweep, another inmate's phone was allegedly seized.
And my sources in Fort Dix says even the prison fight was caused by Diddy breaking the rules. There's no smoking in prison, supposed to be. Diddy was smoking but they sneak. Diddy was smoking in an enclosed area. That enclosed area and smoking caused the guards to crack down and to do a raid for contraband. In the raid for contraband, the inmate he was fighting with, his phone was actually seized. After that raid, the man went to Diddy and said, what the hell is going on? And that's how this fight actually ensued. Again, infraction on infraction on infraction. And if the reports are true about why the fight started.
That inmate, sources say, confronted Combs shortly after, believing he'd been the reason for the raid. Words were exchanged. Then it turned physical.
Okay, Dave Mack, what happened? Who gave Diddy a booty beating?
They're not giving us the names or anything like that because they're all behind bars. But, Nancy, this was a shoving match that escalated because it's Diddy. Now, they say Diddy felt like he was being dissed by this other inmate. What was said, I don't know, but I do know this, that the imprisonment at FCI Fort Dix is kind of like, in-school suspension. This is prison at the lowest form. So he ends up in this so-called fight. He gets his butt whipped by another inmate.
Now, if you're picturing a Hollywood brawl, recalibrate. What's being described is closer to a shoving match that escalated fast, ending with Combs, by several accounts, coming out on the losing end.
Solitary confinement is a form of imprisonment. A person kept alone in a smaller cell 22 to 24 hours a day with little to no human contact. This is at Fort Dix. Why did this happen to Dave Mack, Crime Stories investigative reporter? Dave Mack, because he got in a fight. He got in a fight behind bars. According to sources, when asked who won, we were told he held his own. Translation, Diddy got a booty beaten. How you like it now, Diddy? After you beat all those women, we saw the bruises.
Not that the details of who won matter much in the bigger picture. What matters is what happened next. He was placed in what the Bureau of Prisons calls administrative detention. Solitary. 23 hours a day, largely confined to his cell, with access to only the most necessary items and tightly restricted visitation.
No. And currently he's in administrative detention. All those things you just noted, he does have access.
Wait, hold on, wait. I'm sorry. Did I hear administrative detention? The hole at Fort Dix is actually detention hall, like where you can't chew gum? Really? Are you serious?
No, he's actually in his cell 23 hours a day. He does not have access to just getting up and leaving the cell, going to recreation, going to his job. So it's almost, so to speak, like having cabin fever, So basically, he'll be in his cell.
He has access to his legal team. He has some visitation, tightly restricted. He has a mattress, toilet paper, religious materials. The bare mechanics of survival.
Solitary that you and I think about is not what's happening here at Fort Dix. It's the best of the best. You realize that in solitary at Fort Dix that you can actually sometimes have a cellie. They put you in a cell by yourself, but hey, we might have to put you in there with a roommate. I mean, it's just crazy. So basically he gets, some time away from the crowd.
Wait a minute. He's getting blankets, a mattress, pillow, toilet paper, shaving tools, legal and religious materials.
What he does not have is access to the education wing, and that detail matters more than it sounds like it should. Because that education wing is exactly where Sean Combs had spent recent months working. In the chapel, adjacent to the classrooms where inmates take First Step Act credit courses. 10 days off his sentence for every 30 days completed.
Well, they gave him an opportunity. They basically gave him a layup to try to find reform within himself. He's working in the chapel, which is next to the education building, which houses most of those.
I'm sorry, I just choked again. Sean Combs is working in the chapel?
Yes. He's working in the chapel, which puts him in proximity to the education building so he can take those First Step Act credit courses, so he can earn up to 10 days off for every 30 days that he completes these courses.
That program is the reason his release date kept sliding earlier and earlier. And now, sitting in a cell with no access to those classrooms, that clock has stopped. While he remains in that cell, His access to the program that had been reducing his sentence is interrupted.
We've gone back and forth on his release date. His sentence has been cut. After this last altercation, as you guys are calling it, it's basically a fight. And word is, Diddy got a booty beating. That said, 1 month has been added to his already reduced time. There you go.
Investigators are expected to take up to 21 days to complete their review of the incident. Depending on what they find, Combs could lose good time credit, visitation privileges, his prison job, commissary access, or worse, he could be removed entirely from the fast track program that had been quietly working in his favor.
So this fight occurred about 2 weeks ago. So I can tell you they'll probably have this investigation wrapped up within the next week or so. You normally would give staff about 21 days to do these investigations. And then they'll turn their findings over to the disciplinary hearing officer, who will make the final determination on whether he'll lose any good time that he's earned, or whether he'll lose privileges such as visiting, loss of job, or commissary, or some additional sanctions, depending on the outcome of the investigation. Additionally, he may be separated from the other inmate that he had this altercation with, and depending on who the perpetrator was,
30 additional days have reportedly been added to his sentence following the incident. His legal team is reportedly preparing to challenge any further loss of program eligibility.
It does show a pattern that Diddy can't find the rules. I know it's 21 days for the investigation to be completed. They automatically added 30 days onto his sentence because, there needs to be some type of punishment. But Diddy seems to be really, really worried, and his lawyers are rumored to be gearing up to challenge the fact that he might be kicked out of this program that is fast tracking him out as a result of the fight. And if he is kicked out, then all the good time he's earned will be clawed back. Now, of course, his lawyers are gearing up for a legal challenge. Nobody knows if he'll be kicked out of the program, but there is a chance that he's facing very serious consequences.
Here's the part worth sitting with. For years, Sean Combs has built a version of himself defined by control. The entourage, the image, the ability to smooth over almost any situation with money, charm, or both. Strip all of that away, put him in a cell with nothing but concrete and silence, and what surfaces? Not calm, not reflection.
You know, Nancy, when I think about this, I think about what prison does, right? It strips away everything P. Diddy, a powerful person, used to have to stay in control, right? The entourage, the image, the ability to buy his way out of a room. And I think what we're seeing here is what surfaces when the control disappears. It tells us everything, right? A fight behind bars tells us the person, when you remove all the things around him, he's still the same person. His instinct is not to de-escalate, it's to continue to try to dominate. And I think that's worth paying attention to, because that's a pattern. And what we see and what we're hearing in this conversation, right? The one thing that gets lost is these victims. And we know that with all these victims that continues to come forward, right? Silence isn't proof that nothing happened. It's just often proof of exactly how much power the other person held. And I want to make sure that we don't lose this and all of that, because the system's finally catching up to the reality of trauma and giving them a space to have a voice. And these survivors have legal windows and the cultural permission to start talking about things. But he himself, accountability, credibility, and him staying the same, removing all the things around him, we're seeing what's coming up. And that's still the same person who wants control.
That's not a coincidence. That's a pattern. And if you've been paying attention to how this man has conducted himself, both in public apologies and in private violations, you were probably already ahead of this story before it broke. There's a wider context here too, one that's impossible to ignore. Combs has never been charged in connection with the 1996 murder of Tupac Shakur.
In the last hours, Dave Mack, a witness list has been released in the Tupac Shakur murder trial. Tell me about the trial.
Nancy, this is the trial of Keefe D. Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, the sole defendant, mind you. All right.
Federal investigators, when they looked into claims made by Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, the only person charged in that killing, found what they described as no credible evidence to pursue Combs further.
Law enforcement, and we're talking federal DEA agent interviews with Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, suggest that he pointed the finger at Combs, having put a $1 million bounty on the head of Tupac. Now, this finger pointing was strong enough that when the claim was made, law enforcement went into overdrive researching Diddy and his possible involvement and found, quote, no credible evidence to investigate any further or to charge Diddy in relation to the Tupac murder. I think it's important, Nancy, to point out no credible evidence. And the man who made the claim is the man going on trial.
That matters, and it should be stated plainly rather than danced around. But the witness list in the Davis trial reportedly includes individuals connected to Death Row Records, security operation, and others present in Las Vegas the night Tupac was killed. Whether any of that testimony touches Combs' name again remains to be seen. If it does, we'll be the first to bring it to you. If it doesn't, that's worth knowing too. What we do know, tonight, is this: a man who was on the verge of walking out early is now sitting in isolation, watching his own progress unravel, because he apparently couldn't follow rules that every other inmate in that facility manages to follow. Ask yourself what that tells you about who someone really is when the audience disappears and the parties stop. Somewhere in all of this, it's easy to lose sight of the people this case was actually built around. The more than 100 individuals who came forward with allegations against Combs.
Sean Combs apparently refusing jail food. Now over 100 assault victims have been vetted at the hands of Sean Combs. The beatings, the bruises.
The survivors who sat through testimony, who watched him record apology videos from what looked like genuine remorse, and who are now watching him lose privileges over a prison fight instead of ever fully answering for what put him behind bars in the first place. For them, every headline about sentence reductions and program credits isn't just a news update. It's a reminder that accountability, real accountability, still hasn't fully arrived. So tonight, the question isn't really about a shoving match in a federal prison yard. It's about whether a system built on second chances is capable of recognizing when someone isn't using his. Do you think this fight will actually cost Sean Combs the early release he was counting on? Or will his legal team find another way to shave the time back down? Tell me what you think in the comments. Will this fight actually cost Sean Combs the early release he was counting on? Or will his legal team find another way to challenge the consequences?